Welcome back to the Abundance Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Allison Pereira, and today I'm here with Asia Evans, who has been here before. But we are going to be talking about money. So I'm going to just suggest every single one of you listen to this entire episode because, as we were chatting before we hit record, everybody I've ever worked with, ever except one person as a therapist, has some money stuff. And so we're going to get into some of that. So thanks for being here, Asia.
Thank you for having me, Allison. I'm so excited to come back and just dive into one of my favorite topics, which I could quite literally talk about all day. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll share that as I mentioned, only one person has not had some money stuff. We grow up with money stuff. I think most people have money stuff. And then our grad programs do some work on us with money stuff.
Mhm.
Um, you work with all kinds of folks, not just therapists, but also therapists around money things. So can you kind of give us a broad overview of what money hangups you see amongst most people?
Yeah. Um, I'll be honest, the first thing that came to mind is like the money hangups that come up for therapists, but I'm sure we will get there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but what I will say for most people, and I talk to a lot of women, so I will preface that majority of my
Mhm,
clients are women. I do see other people, but majority are women. And
mhm,
one thing that I see over and over with women is that they feel like they don't know enough. And
mhm,
what is stopping them is what they feel like is the lack of education. I don't know enough about money, investing, what account, 405(1) (2) (3), like what does this
mhm.
even mean? And that really stops people and keeps them stuck or stalled out into potentially growing their wealth or just doing things that are going to benefit them in longer term. The second thing I see a lot is money avoidance, sometimes because of the first reason, other times just because it makes them uncomfortable. They've had financially traumatic things come up in their life. They're scared. It is very anxiety inducing, so they just don't deal with their money at all and ignore it, which is probably one of the scariest things you can do is ignore it versus facing it.
Yes.
Most times when people finally face it and we're doing it together, because I will do it with my clients and look at their money with them, they feel so much relief. So
Hmm.
if that's you right now, feeling like you're ignoring your bank accounts, you will feel relief on the other side of this. It may not be forever, but that step is really important. And then I would say, the third thing that people are really struggling with is just how to navigate relationships when it comes
Hmm.
to money. So that could mean partnerships, marriages, families, boundaries are all mixed in together with how that kind of shows up for them on a regular basis.
Yeah. And I think about how culture plays into that too.
100%. Every single one
Yeah.
of those three, culture is
Hmm.
in there, society is in there, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we are in a predominantly female role as therapists. Like most
Yeah.
therapists are women. So I'm guessing all those things apply, plus the things that you see most in therapists. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I I am an entrepreneurial therapist type of person. So I
Mhm.
really like the business side of
Mhm.
therapy, of working, of setting up a practice. Honestly, even when I wasn't in private practice, I liked the business side of the other aspects of being in community mental health or working for a program. So that I find makes therapists very nervous or uncomfortable that they feel like they need to either have an MBA, and that means they cannot handle the budget, the
Mhm.
P&L, so the profit and losses. I cannot handle the money or the things because I don't even know what I'm talking about, because it feels like you should almost either be a therapist or care about business. Um,
Mhm.
and that they are not at war, they are one. If you're a
Yes.
therapist with a practice, that's your business. This is a
Mhm.
big deal. And that brings me to the next point, which is, and this is part of my story, in that a lot of times, and I think we've all heard it in some way, shape, or form. You are in grad school, you're going into interning. There's you have to pay your dues. You're not in this for the money. And these are kind of like money narratives, if you will, or money
Mhm.
beliefs that were passed down to us from, our institutions, if you will.
Uh-huh.
but you're not in this for the money. You have to pay your dues, trial by fire. You are not going to make any money. You shouldn't be making money from this. You shouldn't profit from this. All of that kind of verbiage and language around almost like this piety oath we feel like we need to be taking as
Hmm.
therapists really interrupts how we're able to build healthy boundaries with our clients around payment. It really hampers us and holds us back from saying, hey, I'm going to raise my prices or raising your prices appropriately every single year and then
Hmm.
having those conversations. So that's very loaded, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I see a lot from therapists talking about money and what comes up for them and just feeling icky and feeling weird about, oh gosh, I'm gonna charge this person for this no-show and they're getting charged the full rate and other people think that's weird or I shouldn't do that or that's uncomfortable for me.
Hmm.
And how do I do that? So a lot of those
Yeah,
conversations.
yeah, absolutely. I think about like we're in a culture where women are starting to be like more women are starting to be the breadwinners in their family than ever before. And so now we've got a lot of women who are making more and don't know anything about finance and are scared and are a lot less confident in their ability to learn or understand.
Yeah.
I think about the whole like girls don't like math thing,
Mhm.
that like we're also kind of raised with. And then
Totally.
I think about like therapists who are now business owners. And this is probably going to come out harsher than I mean it. But you can't own a business and ignore the money side. Like you absolutely are not a business owner. You're just like a hoping it works out owner.
Yeah, a kind of
Um,
like a volunteer, and I don't want that for anybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you have to really understand the money in your business in order for it to stay open because money is the lifeblood of any business. And it will not stay open if you're not making money. Um, I think about these messages. I distinctly remember being told you're not going to make money in this profession while I was in grad school. And how completely false it is. And I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And how like we all have bills. So like maybe we didn't go into it for the money. I think if we went into it, if we were going into a profession for the money, we would not be therapists because we were all
No.
told we wouldn't make any money. And like, why do this just for the money when there are so many other things that make more that are
Right.
less
And
emotionally exhausting?
exactly. I was like, and we're not carrying the emotional labor. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, we're not doing it for the money and we deserve to make money.
Hmm.
Period. There is not a single group of like as a profession that I would rather have a lot of money than therapists.
100%. I love that. And I don't think people talk about it in that way. Like,
Yeah.
what if therapists had all of the money? What if we
Yeah.
were the richest people? What I mean, that's exciting to me. To think
Yeah.
about that is very exciting. And the
Yeah.
possibility of what that would mean for communities and
Yes. The whole
organizations.
world. The
Yes,
whole
yes,
world.
yes.
Because along
Yeah,
with being like, if we were like the best paid profession or something, there would also be absolutely no stigma in seeing a therapist.
correct.
And so
And
like,
research
yes,
for all
research.
types of populations and just money
Oh,
going into it to, healthier humans do better
yeah, absolutely.
in
Absolutely.
general.
RIP research funding. Um, but
Yeah.
I think like the level of sitting down with people and looking at their finances that you do, you probably have so much better perspective than most people because you've seen many more people's finances, like
Mhm.
in the way that a financial advisor might see a lot of people's finances, things like
Right.
that. Like you sit down, but you
Yep.
also handle the emotional side with them.
Yep.
And so, like, financial therapy is a thing for anybody who doesn't know. Asia's a financial therapist. And I find it such a fascinating and exciting piece of our field
Yeah.
because we avoid it in all the other sides of our field.
Mhm.
Like, how often are we really getting into money with our clients?
Yeah.
I would have felt more comfortable earlier in my career talking about sex any day of the week than money with my clients.
Yeah.
And like, that shows us how loaded it is.
Yes. And how avoidant. we can be in it. Like when I think about going through grad programs, and I loved my grad program,
Hmm.
but we need a whole course on building businesses. Like it needs to be baked in. And, I graduated a long time ago.
Hmm.
So
Same.
maybe this has happened. And if it has, please reach out and let me know because I am very curious about it. But there needs to be coursework on not just running organizations or running private practices, but how are you managing grants, getting grants, funding research, making money for your private practice. You again with the P&Ls, like taxes. I think there is something really important there
Hmm.
around the business acumen that we all need to be running businesses around mental health that we are just totally missing when
Right.
we are being educated.
And I think we hide behind it's boring when really it's
Mhm.
scary and confrontive.
Yes. Ah, so well said. And it's interesting because I'm like, I am so excited about them. Like, what do you mean it's boring? Why?
Hmm.
So looking at it that way, that maybe it's just scary and it's not boring. Yeah, or I don't want to do this. I'm not in it for the business. That's okay, but you still need to do this. Do you want to be a director one day? Do you want to run a program? Do you want a private practice? You need to know this stuff. Yeah.
Or even just understanding it. I mean, I was a board member for years, and they
Hmm.
would hand out the P&Ls at every monthly meeting, and I
Yep.
would look at it, and my eyes would cross. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. I feel
Yep.
like an idiot saying this in front of these like accountants and attorneys and these other people in these professions that like seem to know what they're looking at, but like it seems backwards to me. Like, why is there a minus when it's a plus? Like, I
Yep.
just didn't
Yep.
understand how to read it and
Yeah.
didn't ask for assistance in understanding because of my ego, because I didn't want to look
Yeah.
stupid.
Right. And you're not stupid at all. You're just like, hey, this is not my wheelhouse, but I
Yeah.
want it to be. And
Hmm.
I think that is also another great example because you're right. Like, we need us in the boardrooms. Like, we
Yeah.
need us in those at those decision making tables to say, hey, clinically, this is what's going on. But that also means that we need to understand what's happening at the business level. And I believe
Yeah.
this more now than ever, especially with how much tech is disrupting mental health in general.
Hmm.
We need clinical people at the table
Yeah.
having these conversations, and we need to be able to sit there and feel confident knowing about, what the budgets that we're looking at and the influx of income, but also being able to say, okay, I understand how much money this is going to cost or not, or this is why we believe in this longevity of this type of treatment because XYZ, XYZ. But we need to
Hmm.
understand the business part of it. So, yeah. It's a great
Yeah.
point.
I know that you wrote a book, The Feel Good Finance. So, like, talk about Feel Good Finance and how people, like, why you wrote it, because writing a
Yep.
book is a whole thing.
Whole thing.
Like you really have to have passion. Nobody writes a book just because they only halfway care.
No. It's so long. It's
Yeah.
it's a long process. So no, you definitely don't just write a book for without having passion or drive to kind of want to get your thoughts and feelings out there. But I loved it, which has been so nice to unlock another part of myself
Hmm.
and realize like, oh, Asia, you are a writer. Like everything that you have done has led up to you realizing that you're also a writer. You
Awesome.
like money, you like mental health, and you like to write. So like
Amazing.
this is what I want my professional career to look like. And you hear those three things and they sound like they don't go together, but that really has been the past. So I wrote this book because when I was in my 20s and in my mid 20s, I felt weird about money. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why my credit cards weren't being paid off if I was just doing the minimums. I didn't know why I didn't have enough money, what my budget was, why were my student loans so high. I just didn't understand. And in that, I felt like I wanted there's so much information out here now that this was not the case back
Hmm.
then. But I wanted to tap into the emotional side. I wanted to do the digging that we do very often in therapy around money. Like, why does my self-esteem feel weird when my friends are able to go on these trips, but I can't afford to go? What's coming up in me and dissecting that? So I wrote Feel Good Finance and literally dedicated the book to baby Asia because that's
Oh.
what I needed so much at that time for
Hmm.
somebody to be like, okay, let's walk you through what's going on. So that's
Mhm.
what I do for the reader. I walk you through the historical context of money and how it has shown up in our society and how that impacts different people in specific ways. Then I walk through our psychological context of how we grew up, what was modeled for us, what was represented, what were those money beliefs that we kind of formulated and then held on to without realizing they're showing up in a way in our adulthood that we may not like anymore.
Mhm.
And then I give examples of how it shows up in our everyday life and what we want to do about that. So it
Yeah.
could be money avoidance. It could be comparing yourself or trying to keep up with the Joneses. It could be trying to just not worry about your partner managing all your money and that you don't need to worry your little heart about it. So I really walk the reader through very common situations and narratives that my clients have experienced, that I have experienced around their money and ask them to get really honest with yourself. Do you like this or do you want to make a change? And even if it came from something as rooted in your family experience, it might mean that, hey, this is how we grew up and that was necessary at the time, but this doesn't apply to my life anymore. My life looks so different. So, do I need to
Mhm.
start cultivating a different message around my money beliefs?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think about how, I mean, it's all rooted in childhood in my mind, right? Like there's so much that we get to sort through when we start working on our money stuff. And I've been working on money stuff. I remember being in my 20s in therapy and realizing like I hated rich people. I was
Mm-hmm.
so jealous and I thought that like they were bad
Yep.
and they didn't have any idea of what it was like for real people. And I had just this real bias.
Yep.
And I'm so glad that my therapist talked me through that and like worked with me on it because it would
Yep.
have really held me up when I was starting my practice. Because
Yep.
why would I make money if I don't want to be an asshole. You know,
Right.
like,
Right. But people wouldn't think about that connection then kind of messing up your business.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it absolutely would have if I hadn't done that work.
Yep. Yep.
And still, I mean, like literally today, I released a newsletter about like buying this beautiful house in this incredible
Hmm.
neighborhood, and I love it, and it's wonderful. And I bought that house out of pain, and I didn't realize it at the time. I bought
Hmm.
that house out of trying to be good enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so now we're like, well, what's more us than this? And how do we
Yeah.
get there?
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of money stuff, y'all. So much money stuff. And to have something like that, like bop me on the head and then have to like go through the work of emotionally detaching from this thing I thought I wanted and
Hmm.
all the physical work of getting the house ready to sell and blah, blah, blah,
Right. Right.
like,
And it's so much. And it's not, I think there's this idea that you may come into this type of work
hmm
with one thing. Hey, I need to fix this one thing. I need to fix my money mindset, and then I'm going to be fine, as if
yeah.
it will never show up again. But we all
hmm
know in therapy, that is just not the case. It's going to keep coming back
Yep.
up over and over and over again, and in different ways, even though you've done so much work on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's fascinating how our relationship with money, I think probably also mirrors a lot of our other relationships and especially with like boundaries and how we manage hard things. Like, are we more avoidant or are we more like, all right, let me sit down with a nice cozy cup of tea and just like open my Bank of America account or whatever, like
Yeah.
it's how you do one thing's how you do everything potentially, you know?
Yes, you are taking you with you. No matter where you go, you are
hmm
still going to be right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, you probably have a really good perspective on how much people are faking it. Like everybody thinks everybody else is doing just fine.
Yes.
Tell me some about like what you've noticed pattern wise amongst therapists or other people or whatever with the faking it.
Yeah, well, listen, I am not going to make this a time where we're going to rail against social media because I do think that there are good things and there are bad things about social, right? But one pro and con, I would say, a double-edged sword. We have access into somebody showing us the behind the scenes of their life. We
hmm
have access to this is what my kitchen looks like. Even though I might not be highlighting my kitchen, you're in their kitchen. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And the amount of judgment that comes with what somebody finds aesthetic or not aesthetic, when somebody's just showing you, hey, I made this really delicious brown sugar syrup for my coffee. Here's the recipe, turns into, look at those countertops. And I see that subway tile. And oh my God, you have white appliances. I had no idea that there was a huge judgment for people with white appliances. And I was like, oh my goodness. But I bring this up because I think when we get the behind the scenes, we can make up the stories about who these people are, how they
Hmm.
paid for it, what's going on. And of course, all those stories are always very positive. They're making so much money. They come from money. It's never, wow, they must be swimming in debt. Oh, wow,
Hmm.
they took out two mortgages to make this happen. Oh, this is what's going on. We're not thinking about it in that way. We're either passing judgment, assuming they have a ton of money or make a ton of money, or that somebody else gave them money. It's
Right.
never, wow, what if they have $100,000 in credit card debt? What if they're 2 seconds away from their house being foreclosed on? Like, we're not thinking about it in that way. So, for me, the perspective is that we never have the full picture. We
Hmm.
never have somebody else's full financial picture. And we will fill in those gaps very quickly without knowing. So that's what I try to keep in line for people to kind of check what's going on. You have no clue. You just have no
Hmm.
clue, and that's okay. But let's not assume that they're in a great position when you feel like you're not, because you actually might be in a better position than they are financially.
Yeah. Yeah. You might not be up in the middle of the night worrying about, if your reel didn't do well enough and
Correct.
you're not going to be able to pay
Correct.
off that credit card bill or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
I
Yep.
love when people are like, here's my normal kitchen and my
Yes.
untidy living
Oh,
room. I'm just like, thank you. Yeah. Cause I mean, I'm very conscious when I'm filming at my own house. Like, I'm very
hmm.
conscious of like what's behind me
Yep. Yep.
and in a way that is not always real, like I'll admit it. Like, I'll clean up behind me in a way that it wasn't like that 5 seconds ago. But if I'm going to do
Right.
a reel or something, then I want to make sure it's,
Looks good.
yeah. When
Totally. And
like,
that's, yeah, it's necessary. But to your point, I really like when people kind of like, hey, this is the beautiful kitchen you're seeing, but this is where everything went to so that I
right.
can film this beautiful angle of the kitchen. Um,
Exactly.
and we need to sometimes break that glass to
Hmm.
remember, oh, they are humans too, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody is living in these perfectly coiffed outfits, both like I have little kids, so thinking about people in matching dresses and bows and their hair's looking great. Like my daughter wants nothing to do with that. I
Uh-huh.
would do her hair and she would roll around on the couch, but then I'm like, wow, look at this. Look at this mom out here with her 3.5 kids and her clean kitchen and everything looks great. And I do it too,
Hmm.
knowing that I don't have the full perspective. So it's very easy, friends, to get caught up in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think about too, like my kids have been going to a really wealthy school, we'll just say.
I like
Um,
to like a fancy school.
yeah, it's very fancy. They're no longer going to be going there. This was my youngest's last year there, and we're pulling her. Um, but seeing behind the curtain a little bit at how many people are just because how much you make seems to be very important to the people there. Part
Mm,
of why we're leaving. And just hearing some of the background on like, oh, well, I mean, it looks like they're doing really well, but and in actuality, da da da, is like gossip when
yeah.
like that's not a community I want to be a part of. It's people who are going
No,
to
I'm
gossip
like
about people in a hard
weird.
time. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Or like, oh, so and so's mother is nearly a billionaire, so blah blah blah. Like they're great donors, that kind of thing. Like I don't want to be a part of any of that. And it's funny because I got to be a part of that. I thought that I
Yeah.
wanted the great education for my kids, but when the culture is
Yeah.
not what I want and not in line with our family values, then it's interesting to get to a place um, of having the things that I was supposed to want
Yes.
and being like, I actually don't want this. Can we downsize? Can we, like what what's real?
Yeah.
What
And
do
also
I
at
actually
like,
want?
right. And at what cost?
Yeah.
Like, and I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to school, right? Like, we love our kids so much. We want the best for them, but we don't
Hmm.
always see how else they're getting educated on top of the academic education. Because
Yes.
what your kids would be getting is a crash course in wealth dynamics, in class dynamics, in how you treat other people, and what is important, and do you like that or not? And that's a social education that they're getting. And to your point,
Hmm.
you may be like, hey, actually, this is not where our values lie. This is not that level of importance to us. And we don't want to be educating our kids in that way, even though the academics may match up with what you're looking for. Because
Right.
when kids are going to school, they're learning so much more. And I talk about that in my book too, because it's part of my story. And there's a lot of me in the book as well. But I
Hmm.
talk about why wasn't my mom buying me the $50 jeans from Abercrombie and Fitch? And this was a while ago, right? So
Hmm.
elder millennial.
Uh-huh.
But why wasn't she buying me that? And the cool kids had it, and I wanted to be a cool kid, and I thought it would make me feel so good if I had
Yes.
these pairs of jeans. And, when you're in middle school, that is the most important thing to you. And that's
Uh-huh.
appropriate and it should be. But when you are now surrounded by wealth that looks different, it makes you feel different. And the dichotomy for me was that I actually was a wealthier kid in my school. I didn't realize it
Hmm.
until writing the book and diving into my own money story. But I was like, oh, wait. I just didn't feel wealthy because of a lot of the racial expectations or assumptions about who my family was or where we lived because my parents chose to live in the city instead of the suburbs.
Hmm.
Because they're both from New York City. So they're like, oh, a brownstone, this is lovely. We're going to live here. It's great. It reminded them of home. But that weird trying to make sense of it when you're a child is how we then impact what we do as adults. So
Yes.
I want you to know, Allison, you're making a decision that for you and for your family is going to impact how they see money when they are older. They were able to dip a
Yeah.
toe into it and have the experience, but now it may shift, and that's okay too.
Yeah. And I think in my mind, I was like, I want my kids to see what's possible for them because I didn't necessarily have the same examples.
Yep.
And now I'm like, yeah, and that might not be what they want ultimately. Like, I don't want my first grader ask me why we don't have our own plane like so and so,
Yep,
like,
not ideal, like
yeah.
that is not the norm. And when
Hmm.
you're amongst it all the time, it feels like it's the norm. Or
Yes.
feeling like they have to grow up and make enough money so that they do have their own plane. Like you
Yeah.
could, but you don't need to.
Yeah. And I think about like that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing, right? Like I don't think it's ever really intentional for most people in a way that I used to think of it as intentional. Like, oh, so and so got a Mercedes, so I should get a Mercedes.
No.
Like, I think it's a lot more insidious when everyone you're surrounded by is going to Europe for at least a month in the summer, then
Yes.
it just seems like, well, it sucks for me that I can't do that. Or we need to make this happen because this
Yep.
is normal. And I
Yep.
think that happens at every like socioeconomic
100%.
like level. There is a
100.
keeping up with the Joneses that can happen.
Yeah. And the assumptions that you make about other people, the amount of articles that I see, people are like, wow, these people who are making over six figures are living paycheck to paycheck. That's crazy. What's going on with them? And as somebody who lives outside of New York City, I live in Jersey. Our taxes are notoriously high.
Hmm.
Mortgage rates are insane at this point.
Yep.
It's like really wild out there. But I'm like, yeah, you make six figures, but I can say other places I know for a fact their taxes are like $2,000 a year, $5,000 a year. Mine are like nearly triple or quadruple that. And
Wow.
that is like people don't look at it that way.
Hmm.
Or just cost of childcare or anything like that. So I think there's so much judgment around money and assumptions that we make around people who make what we deem as good money. And
Uh-huh.
when you're not making good money, it's like, ah, am I behind? I'm like, no, you might be making great money for your area. And that's amazing. But we need to all touch some grass and understand what
Hmm.
our enough is. And I
Yes.
don't want people working themselves to the bone. I don't want anybody seeing 35 clients a week going crazy in terms of time management, managing themselves. Where's self-care? I'm not taking vacations. That is not how we're supposed to live. That's not how we're supposed to work either.
Yeah.
So finding the enough number. hopefully can allow you to kind of rebalance
Yeah.
um, where your time is going and how you feel about it.
100%. And that's something I end up talking with people. Everybody wants to make a round number. When I'm like, how much money do you want to make? It's always like 100,000 or
Yep.
150 or 200,000. Like it's always a nice round number.
Yep.
And then my next question is always like, what are you going to do with that money? Like, how are you assigning that money a job? What do you, like, why?
Yep.
Because I don't want somebody busting their ass to make
Yep.
200,000 when like they would have been way happier making 150,000.
And having an extra day off the week.
Yeah.
Like, take the
Yeah.
time. So I could not agree more with you. I want to tell you, and this is just what a numbers nerd I am. This is so
Mhm.
funny. I can't believe I'm going to share this, but I am looking forward to having some like time to myself to really add up what my expenses are for the year. Now,
Mhm.
I have multiple sheets. I use like Monarch. I like all that stuff, but I want to sit and do the math of like, okay, Asia, your mortgage times 12 is this, and this is how much I am excited to just look at that number for the year.
Yeah.
Um, and that's fun for me. And it might not be fun for you guys, but I want you to know if
Mhm.
you need to know what your enough number is, take stock of what your life looks like and what does your life cost you a year.
Yes. Yes. I love this. That's great. Like just very actionable advice.
Yeah,
Feel
add
good
it up.
finance. Where is the best place to get feel good finance?
Yeah, I would say your local bookstore. So it is nationally distributed, which is fantastic. If they don't have it in stock, I would just ask them. I'm all about supporting local. I'm very concerned for our smaller bookstores. They're so important to communities, so please support them. It's at libraries as well. If it's not at yours, you can also ask. But other than that, if after those two things, you can go to Bookshop, you can go to Barnes and Noble, and then of course it is on Amazon. You'll get it the quickest, but we want to support small.
Yes, love it. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go to mine like online right after this and order it. So,
Thank
yay.
you.
Yay. Well, I appreciate, I feel like I could talk to you all day.
Same.
So, yeah, thank you for taking the time to be here. And I hope that people are willing to look at their finances a little bit more than they have been just after hearing. Like, it really is a relief if you look at it. So,
Yeah. And just
yeah,
get honest with yourself. I promise you'll feel better afterwards, just coming up with what's been holding you back, and then making a new plan for it.
awesome. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.